in later years, I don't know how much attention they want to draw to Davey Boy Smith and the way he passed, and you do have Owen in there as well. It's not like Jim Neidhart has been a saint since he's left that company. He's been in and out of jail and had some issues of his own. So that it would be tricky. I just, with Owen, I hope they don't go against her wishes, because I think it would open the door for them to face a lot of media scrutiny. I don't think people want to necessarily, or if you're WWE, you want your Hall of Fame to be something that people are talking about in a positive light, not they're inducting this guy and his widow's against it, and she could get a lot of negative publicity if WWE were to pull something like that.
That's true. I didn't even thought about it that way. Sal, any thoughts over there?
Yeah, no, I mean, he actually brought up some very good points. It's something that I really didn't even think about up until he just mentioned it, so very good points.
Yeah. And real quick, do you actually think we're going to see Triple H retire on Sunday?
Say that one again. I'm sorry, I missed that.
Do you think Triple H is going to retire Sunday?
I don't. Now, it's wrestling. He could lose, and they still find a way to work him back into the storyline somehow.
That was my thing yesterday.
Just a big shocking moment, but then he comes back. I mean, Vince, the quote that Hunter has used, while paraphrasing what his father-in-law said, Vince looks at Triple H now as the guy in case of emergency. So if a John Cena were to get injured, or just a big name and they were somebody, it's always nice to have that security blanket in Triple H. I think it's too soon.
Okay. I know he's been making waves backstage, and do you have any clue if he was the one who talked to Martha Hart on top of everything else he's done this year, or?
Oh, that I don't know. I would assume that would be handled. I mean, I can't rule that out, but I would assume that would be handled by their legal folks. Okay. I don't think they'd want, if there was a conversation with her and it was, I just think it would be, a conversation with her might be handled by someone like Triple H, but it most likely I would assume it would be left to the lawyers. But you guys probably know more about that one. I actually had the day off yesterday and actually took full advantage of it, so I'm a little bit behind on the Owen and Martha story.
That's fine. We read about it right on ProWrestling.net, and we run on the air right after we read it. So,
yeah, Chris Shore was handling the site yesterday, so that's the one that I guess I still need to catch up on a little bit and see what they actually wrote about it.
That is fine. Well, before we let you go and get ready for the press conference, we also cover ROH on here, and we got Supercard of Honor this weekend. What do you think of the Steen Briscoe matchup?
Oh, I think most people are looking at this like kind of it'll be a good match, but they're not going to change the title. I wouldn't be surprised. I think it's on a big stage, WrestleMania weekend. I think the Briscoes have done pretty much everything they can do as a tag team in that company. And so it wouldn't shock me if this is a way to kind of split them up. They're a very popular act, and I think ROH might be looking at this as they could also be very popular singles acts. So, I mean, I'm not saying it's definitively going to happen, but don't rule that one out, guys. Either way, I do think it's going to be a really fun match to watch.
Yeah, I think so too. So we'll let you go. Get ready for the press conference and everything. Well, thank you for taking your time to call us.
Anytime, guys. It was a pleasure, and I'll be happy to do it again, and we can actually I can give you more time when it's not WrestleMania season.
It's no problem. I actually was very surprised you actually said you would definitely be able to do this, so I appreciate it.
Anytime, guys.
Okay, awesome. We'll talk to you another time.
Take care.
See you later, Jason.
Thanks, Jason.
All right, Sal. Again, that was Jason Powell from ProWrestling.net. Appreciate him coming on for about 15 minutes to talk to us about WrestleMania topics and other stuff going on in the business.
He's a very busy man. We're very, very lucky to have him.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, actually. And he's actually going to go cover the press conference and also do .net Weekly, which is their big show, later on today. I'll see that out over the weekend. And as for us, we are going to go. And this is Blake, and that would be Sal. We're going to be back next week in our normal slot here on Thursday morning, doing our normal show by ourselves. Yes, I'm going to send it out the same way we started the show, just for Sal, because I know he's loving it. And next week we'll be covering WrestleMania in full. We'll cover Supercard of Honor in full, and then we'll just go through everything else. Hopefully the Devils actually win some games, and we'll go from there. We will see you next week You can follow me at Riley21106. Sal at Icon. I'm laughing. He's dancing on the other side. IKON_44. The Entertainment Report at eReport1. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And with that, we officially will bring in our special guest.
To introduce our guest star, that's what I'm here to do, and it really makes me happy to introduce to you.
I am proud to introduce to the show John Philapavage, the creator of Barbed City, the unauthorized documentary of ECW. Hello, John.
Woohoo!
Yes, it's a fun intro on this show.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll admit I stole that from Pat McNeil. So, how are you doing this morning, John?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm still waking up. I'm like I said yesterday. I'm not the best morning person, but I wanted to jump on here and talk to you guys. I'm not the only creator, by the way. It's me and Kevin Kiernan, so I have to give him a lot of credit.
Yes, and we will get through that real quickly. Sal, as we mentioned, he actually did not know a lot about this documentary until I brought it up to him.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't we catch him and our audience up on the story behind this documentary?
All right. Well, I really we started in March of 2000 when we were 19 years old, and the company was still going then, and we got a lot of our early key interviews just as the company was kind of falling apart. So we were kind of on the ground for doing that, and then it got shelved a few times, and we finally some people talked to us, and we finally had the connections and a little bit of the money to go forward. Last year, I got Kev back on board, which was a big deal for me. And then we went through Kickstarter to get the funds to finish it. Thankfully, we made it. And we finished up, not that long ago, and we just debuted it at the old ECW arena. And it's a documentary. It's like a regular, documentary. It's not like something that you see necessarily coming out of the wrestling industry. That's kind of like either propaganda or a praise video or anything. It's very fair and unbiased, and like a lot of it deals with the human element. We tried to make it as accessible as possible to people who have never seen, who don't A, like wrestling, and B, have never heard of VCW.
Yeah, because I know you said Kevin is not a wrestling fan.
No, not at all. Well, I shouldn't say not at all. I mean, he appreciates it. He's certainly been at enough shows and, working with us and has seen a ton of wrestling footage. But he doesn't go out of his way to watch like Monday Night Raw. We'll put it that way.
Okay. Yeah, we do on this show. So we had a long talk about wrestling right before we got you on the air, actually.
Yeah.
So the you said the premiere was at ECW Arena. I did see some pictures because Travis Bryant put them up, so that was pretty cool to see. That must have been a surreal experience to be back. Yeah,
it was amazing. It was nice to meet Travis too. That was just one of the best nights of my life. Like, I'm glad it turned out that way because you're so afraid, like, oh, maybe the screen won't work, maybe the projector will jam, or something, or maybe, there'll be a problem with the building, that was such a long road to get there. And then it really worked out. So I was really happy. Everybody seemed to really like the experience of being in that building again. And, we had treats like we had somebody bring the original ECW arena sign in and everything.
Oh, that's cool. That must have been really awesome.
That audience was more like a hardcore ECW audience. Not everybody. Like, I'd say 20% of them were just people who came for Kevin and I. And they weren't wrestling fans. So their reaction was different, or it was interesting. Nobody was like, I hate this. But the reactions were a little different, what people took out of it. And that's probably because we don't have any narration. It's kind of an oral history thing.
True.
So it's left for interpretation, I guess, in a lot of people's minds.
Yeah. Sal, were you going to say something?
No, I was just going to say, I mean, I think it's pretty cool that that you did this. But I mean, the one question that I have for you is, was it frustrating that it took so long?
Oh yeah, yes. The easy answer is yes. Yeah, and especially because it changed a lot. I'm glad. You know what? I am glad now. A few people have commented to me. They're like, this worked out the way it should have worked out. This was good. A lot of the movie, when you watch it, it wouldn't have been able to be made years ago, and that's not just for lack of experience or lack of the connections and funding. Really, it's just in the last year, we added so many different dimensions to it. We kind of have a dual narrative because we jump back and forth. We call them tent poles. It's held up kind of by the present. The April 2012 ECW Extreme Reunion show. We shot there, so we bounced back and forth, and that allowed us to have, guys we interviewed in 2000 and 2001 to be in it again and to kind of see what happened to them and where everything went. And these guys, just, years later, trying to do this reunion show. And having a huge crowd, and then the show kind of going awry. I thought it was a unique opportunity to do something different, filmmaking wise.
Mm-hmm. If I remember that show right, that was the one with Sabu, where he had the drug issues. If I remember right.
Yeah, that's in the film. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. I've actually ordered it yesterday, so we'll be getting it soon, hopefully.
Yeah.
You tell me that. So. Sal, question: did you watch ECW at all when you were watching wrestling? When you got into it?
I did a little bit. I really wasn't really into it that much, but when I was at my friend's house, we would watch it a lot.
Okay, that works. Well, the next weekend, obviously, is the big screening in New York City.
Yeah, the Gramercy Theater.
That's huge. Yeah, Sal is in New Jersey, so
okay,
that's pretty close to where he's at. So, what can you tell us about that one and the screening and the group that's going to be with you that night?
Yeah, it's at the Gramercy Theater, which is in Manhattan. You can, if you just Google Barbed City NYC, a bunch of things pop up, including the link to Ticketmaster. It's a Live Nation venue. I've seen pictures, but people from New York are like, it's beautiful. You're going to be very proud to be in there. It's at noon on that Saturday, so it's an early start. Doors open at 11. And like I said, tickets through Ticketmaster or the Gramercy Theater box office if you don't want the surcharge. And you can find a lot of this information up on our website, barbedwirecity.com, as far as like the particulars of where it is in the New York screening, and a link for tickets. Who's going to be there right now? I know Tony DeVito, who appears in our film briefly, is going to be there. The Blue Meanie is going to be there. Tony Lewis, who is a huge fan supporter and a fan organizer. And is featured in our film. He's going to be there. Mike Johnson from PWInsider.com, who also is one of several journalists in our film, will be there. And Kevin and I, the directors, will be there for a Q&A afterwards.
All right. I have a quick question here. When it comes to the interviews on here, I know you got a lot of past interviews, and some of them are no longer with us. Other than Paul Heyman, which I know you said you could not get a hold of to do the interview. Mm-hmm. Who did you want to interview that you didn't get to? If there's anybody.
Well, I mean, I tried to. If you think of a name, I probably reached out to them at some point, and it just didn't work because they were either under contract or they wanted a bunch of money, or they just didn't want to deal with it. I think the one that would have added. I mean, this is really a collage of people, and we're not. Again, it's not super like hardcore wrestling fan centric. I mean, we really didn't choose the footage that went in by quote unquote star power. It was more about the human element and the story and who gave us, the best, most accurate quotes or the most thought provoking. Because there's a lot of disagreement within the film, and we just presented all sides and let it lay. I would say, probably the person other than Heyman that would have been the most interesting that could have added a few things would have been Tommy Dreamer. Mm-hmm. Okay. And it just didn't work out. I talked to Tommy on and off, since 2001. He was under contract here, he couldn't do it here, or he was available and I was no longer working on the film, so I didn't reach out to him. And then this year we thought we were going to have him, and he didn't want to do. He felt that he didn't want to do something ECW related at this time, or at least that's what he said.
Yeah, well, that's after he did EV 2.0 in TNA, so I don't blame him. That was an embarrassment. So, well, do you think? Because I know a lot of people have been saying without Paul Heyman, it actually kind of feels like a different story. Do you think having Paul would have added a lot to it, or is it better without him?
It would have changed. I don't know that it would have. I don't know if it would have been better or not without Paul. I think he certainly adds a different dimension, but it also kind of changes the story a little bit, because he would have. He's very charismatic and quite quotable, so I'm sure we would have switched out a few different things for him, and then it would have been kind of like a, Paul kind of narrated the wrestling video, the rise and fall of ECW.
Which is a good DVD. It is a good DVD for WWE's credit. for their credit.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, definitely. I mean, it's not anything